Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I'm one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
As you know, we are covering Before They Are Hanged, the second book in the original trilogy. For this episode, we'll be covering Scars, Furious, and To the Last Man. So, let's get started. As usual, we will thank you for your support, even though this episode is basically coming out 2 days later. It's been a long time no see, right, everybody?
Hello.
So just remember, if you could remind you guys to follow us, please. Life's been hard, and it'd be nice if we have a nice little dopamine boost when we see a new follower on our social media pages or in our YouTube pages.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so moving on to Best Meme of the Week. George, take it away.
So we have another repeat meme here. We got Your Words Won't Save You on Reddit. And it says Pedro Pascal being portrayed as his his various roles throughout the years, and it's basically the progression of Shivers.
Oh.
So it goes from the one in Narcos, and then Oberyn, and then I don't even know what this third one is, but it does look like him when he's really young. That's kind of weird. And then finally, for the Age of Madness, it's him as Joel in The Last of Us. Just slowly getting more and more grizzled as time goes on.
No, that's good. It's good. Perfect. He's like what? He's like a part of a team, right? He's in the north. He's in his environment, and then he's in Vesper Cold, where he's with fucking Monza, and he's like, yeah, I'm tough. And then they hear us. He's all edgy and shit, right? He's like, oh, I'm goth now, it's the way of things. And then he's fucking grizzled and shit. He's got a kid he's looking after. That's perfect.
It is perfect. I didn't realize how well each of those goes, so that's really good. Well done. Your Words Won't Save You. That is a fantastic meme. You sound so interested, Jeff.
I haven't seen it, so I'm sorry. It's been a rough week. I'm sorry.
Jeffrey, it's in our chat. Just click the button, man.
Oh, fine.
It'll give you a laugh. It'll cheer you up.
Hold on. Let me look. Where is it? There it is.
I've just popped it in there.
Well, you don't do that. You're gonna throw me off. All right,
it all moved.
The first law. Oh. Yeah, I don't know what's in the heroes. That's a weird Pedro Pascal. Okay, buddy. It's like he's trying to audition for the Crow remake or something. Good lord.
I know. I was looking. When I saw this meme, I looked. Yeah, the Crow. With fucking Brandon Lee.
I know what it is. I just give you a hard time because you're old, Jeffrey.
You know what? Fuck you.
You gonna take that, Jeff?
He didn't. He just said fuck me.
Yeah, I just said fuck him. Fuck him.
Sorry.
I will do that.
How the hell? I'm tight. Now I'm tight. Harrison got me tight. Over here getting homeschooled in his bathroom. Fuck you. All right.
It wasn't in the bathroom. It was in the tub.
The outhouse.
The outhouse. Thank you.
Had to rub while learning math. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. First chapter read through. Go ahead, buddy. I'm waiting.
I'm Jeffrey. I'm hosting now. Our first chapter read through is Scars. Take it away, Jeffrey.
We're gonna do this right meow.
Right meow.
Yeah.
This is right meow.
Cut out so much of this. We'll way up topic.
We are.
Nobody wants to start this chapter.
Okay. All right, I'll start it. All right, hold on. What the fuck? All right.
So we start with Pharaoh taking the stitches out of Giselle's face. And Giselle is complaining considerably less than he was, which is nice. We get a little bit of character development there where he's sort of decided to be a better person, which is nice.
Yeah, perfect parallel to fucking Ladislaw, who's like, I'm walking. Then Logan's complimenting her. He's like, damn, that's good. That's really good. Holy shit, that's some good healing, And he's like, how'd you learn to do that? And she's like, oh, this guy taught me. Aruf. Something like that?
Yeah, Aruf, something like that.
He's like, well, that's a good skill to have.
Happy chance that he did it, so I had to fuck him first.
That did shine a different light on it.
Yeah, and then, what Logan says is, ah. That's funny. I mean, she's like, I didn't mind. He taught me like how to kill, and it's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah,
she said,
she's just brutally honest.
Yeah, she said she's had to fuck other men for a lot less. Like a lot less. She emphasizes that.
Yeah, and then and Logan's like, right.
He's trying to move on, and he's literally thinking to himself, like, this conversation isn't going the way he thought. So maybe.
She's like, okay, it's good to go, and
Giselle
thanks her again, and he's
he grabs
thanks.
her hand. He grabs her hand.
Yeah,
and she's like,
which is a dangerous move.
Yeah. Like, how dare you?
Fine, but if you could get your space smashed again, you can stitch it yourself. Yeah. He asked, like, how does it look? And Logan's like, you're lucky. It's gonna look pretty good. And he's just kind of thinking about how everyone's kind of getting along a little bit better now. Small gestures in time. Pharaoh's not as much, but you can see that.
Yeah, I like the jokes. Like Logan's like, you're still better looking than me, even though you're not as pretty as you were. And Giselle's like, yeah, it's not like they cut my head off. And it's like, oh, burn.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good one. And he says basically, he's like, Luther's coming around pretty good, and they get along really well. If only Pharaoh was the same. She's more like Black Dow. She's one of those people you can't get along with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he's like going back to like cooking. He's like, all right, time to wait, are they cooking here yet? No, not yet, right?
Yeah, he's cooking some porridge with bacon and some roots in it. Sounds yummy.
Right. It sounds delicious.
Typical British food, that.
Yeah, George, you know all about that, right?
No seasoning.
I heard you guys. I heard you guys still eat like the Germans are flying overhead.
Are they not?
Oh shit.
But again, I do love Joe's sort of, he stays away from the food. Like, a lot of authors are like, go on for pages and pages and pages about describing what the food's like, and it's just like, this is just some porridge with some bacon in it and some roots. So that's it. That's what you get.
You mean Martin? Which, I mean, listen. Anytime I read those descriptions, I get real hungry as well.
Yeah, goddamn, I can't read Game of Thrones without being really fucking hungry all the time.
Seriously. And then they're all gathered around the pot, right? Excuse me. And Brother Longfoot is like, he came out of nowhere. He's just like, hey, it's a clear night. Perfect. Yep. I have not deviated or fucked up in any way, shape, or form. I am the best.
I'm still perfect. Just letting everyone know.
He's pulling a Donald Trump right now. He's like, I'm just the best.
And then he just like looks, he walks up to the pot and he's just like, porridge again?
Yeah.
I just love seeing the imagery of like, he's like, oh yes, I have not deviated from my path, not once. Indeed, I am truly blessed. And then he looks down, he's like, porridge again? Like right over Logan's shoulder. And Logan's like, you fucker. Just get out of here.
And then Longfoot's like gossiping. He's like, uh-oh, it looks like Baez and the apprentice are having some beef. And then you just hear like it's Baez going, being handy with the pan is all nice and shit, but the practice of magic is what you need to be learning. It's like, oh, what's going on here?
And then Kwai starts talking back. And he's like, whoa, was your master never disappointed?
I was like,
I can imagine everyone sat around going,
he's like, then perhaps you should tell me the history of your mistakes. I might be a better student. And Logan's like, uh-oh.
He starts shuffling away and he's like, oh god.
But Bias is like, you know what? Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, we'll talk about my past. All right.
And I love how he Kwai kind of spits his line back at him from the last time they told the story when Kwai told the exposition about Glustrod on that. And so he goes like, oh, where do I start? And Kwai goes, At the beginning. Just throws it right back in his face.
Yeah, where should a man ever start?
I just want to point out something a little bit earlier. I'm sorry. It's the line where it's like Logan pretended to be fascinated by the porridge, half expecting to be suddenly deafened by the roar of searing flame. He was fully expecting Baez to just cook Kwai. Oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
So Baez starts talking, and he starts talking about, back in the day, and how they had fought in a terrible war, and they had some issues with that, but even despite that, they had a feud, and they thought that Khalul and Baez were like, "Oh, I'm better than you." No, I'm better than you. It's just petty shit. It's very clear that they were both being fucking children, and so Juven said, "All right, you guys just need some space. You guys need to chill out, get some space from each other, learn that there are more important things to worry about. So Khalul, you go to the south, study in the Great Library, just take some time for yourself, and Baez, you go to the north and do the same thing." But Juven had expected them to be so fucking petty that they did not let go of any of their feuds and only just sat there and stewed on them. To the point that Baez was like, "You know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to sit here and learn. Not least not from these books. Not in the Great Northern Library and Southern Library. I'm going to go to Canadius. I'm going to go learn from the Master Maker so I can get the leg up on Khalul." So he goes there, and Canadius is like, "No, I don't think so, because Canadius doesn't accept apprentices. He doesn't really do that. He has some workers and some students that follow his ways, but not like apprentices, not like Juven's does." But Baez is pretty persuasive. Baez is smart, and Baez is definitely, if anything, unrelenting. Eventually, Canadius lets Baez in and has him start working on menial tasks, and he learns what he can from here to there. And one day, Canadius goes on a trip to find some artifacts. It's clear that Canadius is working on something, or he's been working on several things, ways to perhaps use the other side more directly, which does give Baez, or he so says, that a bit more concern. So he starts looking around the house of the Maker while Juven's is gone, and he finds the previously mentioned Ptolemy, the Maker's daughter. And they started talking, and it's clear that whenever he's talking about Ptolemy, Baez is being very genuine, and the fact that he very much cared for her. He loved her at some point. And there is, I don't think, no matter what anybody says, that he is being actually genuine right here. Because he doesn't need to sell these people,
Right.
And he says that they fell in love with each other. But then one day, and he says that Ptolemy told him that, her father probably, he surmises that he had her just so that way she could handle artifacts that only he could handle, hence the devil blood and all that. Since Canadius is a quarter. And the fact that she's been never left the house of the Maker, she spent her whole life there, and that perhaps Canadius might be doing things he shouldn't. Or at least Baez says he is. And eventually, Canadius comes home and is like, "Whoa, what the fuck? You shagging my daughter?"
So, I can imagine that's exactly what he said.
Yo, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck is this?
What the fuck?
I can imagine just Baez fleeing, with not completely naked, just running out the fucking house of the Maker with no clothes on.
Right in the middle, Canadius catches them right in the middle of clapping them cheeks.
Shit, that's funny. And he runs back to Juven's. Baez does, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Tail between his legs, probably literally. Runs back to Juven's and is like, "Oh, Juven's, Canadius is trying to touch the other side." And Juven's is like, "What? well, you we had to do something about it. Also, you you shouldn't have done what you did. But he says that Juvens forgives him, but then Canadius chases after Baez, and that Canadius confronts Juvens about Baez, and then Juvens basically defends his apprentice. They get into a fight, and Canadius kills Juvens. It's not stated how or why. He just said, well, the only thing that stated what happens is the fact that there's like lightning in the air and that there's it's very clear that there's a big fight. And then because Juvens was killed by Canadius, Baez gathers the Magi except for Kal-El, because Kal-El was like, fuck you, you're a liar. And they go and fight Canadius. They lose 2 Magi, Broken Tooth and Selmy, I think, right? Something like that.
Well, those are the ones that we know are dead anyway.
Yeah, those are the ones that we know died by the Maker. And they fight, and then eventually Baez throws down the Maker. And yeah.
And according to him, he the Maker himself throws Ptolemy from the House of the Maker.
He kills him. He kills his own daughter, his own flesh and blood, and that.
Talk about jealous dad, eh?
Yeah.
Well, that's
what dick.
That's what. But that's
what a dick.
But that happens, when they invade the House of the Maker.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then the interesting thing I find here is that throughout most of the story, and you can very well distinguish which times and which not, where he's being truly genuine. And I find that very interesting. The points where he is, where his regret is, him falling in love. And there's just a lot of bias depth here.
I mean, this is the first time we've had his side of it, and like you say, he does seem very, very, very genuine. But then it isn't like unheard of for some like abusive people to think this way. Like they think that they love someone, but they're abusing them. So we can't really glean anything from that, truthfully, anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And to be clear, what I mean is like parts of it he truly believes, whereas other parts he starts using different verbiage. The same way he talks to whenever he changes his tune from between he's annoyed and when he's trying to convince somebody, which is something we've seen multiple times now. Trying to convince Pharaoh, his tune suddenly changes from annoyed to, oh, ha ha ha, you're a fighter, all right, with Yulway. Oh, Yulway, no, Kalu, terrible guy. With Zacharias. Oh, Zacharias, the evil that is down there. But then also at the same time says, oh, evil's stupid, doesn't exist, when he gets done talking to him.
Yeah.
But here, he seems to be going back and forth between the two.
Okay, yeah. And I'm sure we'll have to come back to this again when we get further into the book.
Yeah, sure. For sure. And then they start, and then Baez is like, yeah, Kwai, you would be wise to actually listen to your master and learn from my mistakes, because if I had obeyed Juvens, then I would not have the scar. He has like a scar, I guess, near his neck or shoulder. And then he's like, see, Master Luthar, it could be worse. And then Longfoot's like, man, I could do better.
Yeah, look at this.
That's like my favorite Brother Longfoot part.
It's like he pulls up his trouser leg, and he's like got a chunk missing from his thigh. Like, and somebody else like, what did that? He's like, and he just starts telling the story, and he just goes off on tangents and everything. Many years ago, when I was a young man, I shipwrecked in a storm across the Soldier 9 times in all. God has seen fit to dump me in, and he just keeps going and on. It's like, right. So this fish decided to eat me.
A huge and most aggressive fish.
Yeah. I don't like this idea that nobody in the circle of the world knows what a shark is.
Yeah, and they're like, what?
Yeah, like what, big fish, teeth like knives.
It's very possible that the sharks only live around Soldic, because it seems to be there are quite a bit of seasons, and Soldic seems to be a bit more tropical.
Yeah, that makes
just interesting.
And then,
anyways,
yeah, and then I think
I think Logan then tells the story about his finger.
Yeah, well, Luthor is like, I bet you got one better. And he's like,
yeah, he's
excited.
like, you got plenty, I bet, bro. You got, and he's like, I got bitten by a sheep. And then they start asking, like, well, what about your finger? Like, how did you lose it? And he's like, I don't know if I really like the way this is going. Where is this gonna go?
Yeah, he doesn't want to air all of his dirty laundry in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But he goes through most of his dozens sort of when he fought them in the circle. So he does Tolduru, and then does he mention Black Dow as well, or is it just Harder Grim?
He doesn't mention Black Dow.
No, he mentions
so
he mentions getting a sword cut across his face, right? Where Tolduru like made a notch in his ear.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about he had a big rock dropped on him at Ufris, broke his skull and his shoulder too. And then he goes, "It's my own fault. That's what you get when you try and tear a city wall down with your bare hands." And Luthor's like, "What?"
It didn't work.
And then he spent 2 months, healing, and then he just healed in time just to do the duel with 3 trees where he got all his bones broken again. And then he goes, but that all did hurt, but not as much as this. And he just points at a small scar just underneath his rib, like where his stomach is. And they're like, that doesn't look like much. And he's like, well, he turns around and he's like, there's the rest of it. So they're like, what? They're like, a spear. He got speared right through from Grim during their duel.
Yeah. And everyone's like, what? Wait, went all the way through? And he's like, yeah.
Yep. And he's like, wait, but how did you come out alive? He's like, well, I beat him. And then they're like, with the spear through you. And he goes, I didn't know about it till afterwards.
I love it too, because even Baez is like, sheesh. He's like, damn, that's a big spear.
And Longfoot and Luthor, they're actually looking at each other. They're like, and Longfoot's like, that would seem a great difficult detail to overlook. And he's like, Logan's like, oh fuck. He's like, so like there are times when I don't really know what I'm doing. And then there's a long pause. And then Baez is like,
what? And I love how he just goes straight into it, and he's just like, right, once when I was 14, I was with my friend, and he hit me, and the next thing I know, he was dead.
Yeah, I strangled him. So then what I did, I just threw him off of like a cliff or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Covered it up, as you do.
Yeah. And then he goes, a few years later, I nearly killed my father, stabbed him while we were eating. Don't even know why. Just did it. But he healed luckily. And then he says he felt Longfoot easing nervously.
Yeah. It's not exactly something you want to admit to your traveling companions, that you might just lose your mind and start murdering people for no reason.
This is one of those times that Longfoot fucking is like, this would have been nice to know. And you're like, to be fair, that is a good point, Brother Longfoot. If you're traveling with somebody and then he's like, oh yeah, sometimes whenever I'm, start getting angry, I kill my friends,
And then who steps up for him?
Wait, hold on.
Pharaoh.
But before you even get there, like, you got to talk about like how Longfoot is like, so we're just talking out loud. Is it possible that you might kill one of us without meaning to? And he's like, I'll probably kill all of you rather than one. It's like, even Baez is like, well, I'm not so happy about this. Wish I would have known this earlier. And then Longfoot's the same thing. He's like, I wish you would have told me about this.
Yeah, you're getting really, and in the audiobook, he gets like really hysterical about it. He's like, "This is the type of information a traveling academy to share." I'm just talking quicker and quicker, and then Pharaoh stands up for it.
Yeah,
and I love how she says this. She goes like, "Shut your mouth, you stargazing fool."
Careful,
but
George.
She's right. She's like, "Go on."
I was just gonna say, careful. You might get sick. You're talking in a French accent.
No. Sorry, yeah, it's out of my mouth now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's surprising that Pharaoh kind of, speaks up here. Like she doesn't get involved in the sort of the dinner time conversations. So it's nice for her to, stand up and say, you're all a long way from perfect. And so what if he's a killer? hear any of you complaining when it needed doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and she calls them out on each of their shit. It's just like, some of you make a lot of words, but are nowhere to be found when the trouble starts. And she looks at Giselle and she's like, some of you are a lot less used than you think. And then she goes to Maya, some of you keep a lot of secrets, and you fall asleep, and you leave the rest of us stranded in the middle of fucking nowhere.
And Logan gets the warm fuzzies. He's like, "Oh, my
Yeah.
bad.
Aw,
I've been thinking that
thank you.
I was about to give up on you. That I needed to stop. Thinking that you were gonna even try to be my friend." And then
Yeah, and she's the only one that saw the bloody nine.
yeah.
Mm.
And
But
then the Baez is like, all right, well, what about you? And he's like, how'd you get your scar? Right? Because the scar on her face. And then I like how Longfoot is like, oh, Luthar is like, I bet you made whoever gave you that suffer, huh? And then Longfoot's like, oh, indeed. Yep. I bet he died, quickly. And then Pharaoh interrupts him. She's like, I did it. It's like, what?
Yeah, and then we get some horrible backstory for Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
And this is horrible that this is the worst thing that she could do to him, is to hurt herself.
that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just by lowering her value.
Yeah, she did it on purpose to
Disgusting.
lower her value, and then she's laughing at it. And
Yeah, I
then-
love it. She takes pride in it.
Yeah, and then even Baez is shocked. He's like, "So you scarred yourself?"
Yeah. And then that's it. And Pharaoh kills the conversation.
That's it. It's over.
Well, they're talking, right? And no one says anything. Everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Everyone's clearly in shock, but no one stands up for her.
No.
Well, there's nothing to stand up for. They're just kind of just shocked.
I mean,
They're
I
not
guess
talking
so.
shit. They're not piling on her like they were piling on Logan.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
They were
I
just like,
guess
all right,
so.
we're just gonna leave her alone. She crazy. What do you guys rate that chapter?
I reckon I'm going to give this one a 7.
Mm.
I do like these exposition chapters where they're heading across the plains and they get this bit of sort of downtime, and they get to, become more of a team, and there's a lot of character building.
Yeah.
Especially with Logan, Giselle, and Pharaoh, the big three. We get the really good exposition from Baez and the way that all worked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do enjoy it, but I do have to take a couple off just because they are just sitting around a fire.
Yeah. I'm gonna give
What
it
about
a
you guys?
7. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 9. For the same reason. Like, I like the exposition. The humor obviously is always on point, especially with like the part where, as Baez is telling the story, everybody's kind of like Logan's just like not paying attention to the cook pot. Luthar is he's like, oh, that was delicious. And then he's like, has anybody got some more? And then Kwai just doesn't even look at him, just gives him the bowl. He's like, here, take it.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's just like, paying attention. It's just fucking hilarious. I love it. And then obviously everyone's reactions to when Logan's trying to tell the story. It's like, yeah, so I go crazy at times.
Yeah.
It was great. So 7 out of 9 for me.
I think I'm gonna go with a 8 out of 9 because the exposition here is really good. The Baez stuff is really, really good. I think like it's some of the best stuff with Baez. Honestly, I think the other character stuff. This is some of the best like progression that we've seen. It not just Pharaoh defending Logan, but the way Giselle is like excited for Logan, his buddy, to show up everybody with his scars. Luthar also does not talk about himself at all. Instead of saying, well, what about me? Like he would have done, he says, what about you, Logan? What about you, Pharaoh? To this progression there. Longfoot plays perfectly well into this dynamic. Even Kwai has the way he's talking and the way he's fighting with Baez is very interesting as well. I just think it's really good character, really good exposition, and all in a really tight way. But just one point off, because you're right, they are just sitting by the fire.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Thank you for that, Harrison. We'll move on to our community interaction segment. Go ahead.
So, I did not post a poll this week because I forgot entirely. But I did notice that somebody had questioned something recently. They said that basically that they were kind of confused on the Red Country timeline, character ages, and this is spoilers. And kind of trying to think about, assume Shy is in her very early 20s, and no Rowan Pitt are in 10 and 7, but Lamb makes a couple comments about the last time he tried to stop Shy, she was 10 years old, blah, blah, blah. So the kind of the timeline overall is after the first trilogy ends, about 3 years later, Best Served Cold happens, takes about a year. And then about 4 years after the end of Best Served Cold, so 8 years after the end of the trilogy, The Heroes occurs. And then about 6 years after The Heroes, or 10 years after Red Country, or 14 years after the end of the trilogy, Red Country happens. In the original trilogy, Logan it's not clearly stated, but he said he's over 30. And knowing how much life experience he has and how he's talking about he's been fighting in a war for 10 years, he's probably about 34, 35. Saying as he had kids and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So, in Red Country, it's about 14 years after, he's about, he's in his 50s or very early 50s, which lines up, you could still be pretty good in shape in your early 50s, and he clearly is. And in terms of him talking about them, Shy seems to be, yes, in her early 20s, but she had a period where she went off on her own and did things. Mm-hmm. But we know that Rowan Pitt are not his kids. Lamb is not their father because they clearly state that they're not. They're separate. But they did have a stepdad that was there. So it's possible that Lamb came there soon after and worked as a farmhand until later on. So he's been around for a while, possibly since the kids were born, like Rowan Pitt, or since they were young at the very least. But maybe not as a father figure, just around. And so even though he knows Shy very well and he's been around for a long time, he may not have been that father figure until a little while later, which is why none of them refer to him as their father, and more of like a father figure,
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Age of Madness occurs 28 years after the end of the trilogy, or 14 years after Red Country ends. So that's kind of the timeline. Age-wise, that's, it does state that Rowan Pitt are 10 and 7. So at the very least, Lamb has been there for 7 years, because that's all that Pitt knows. And that would line up fairly well. I don't recall the line. Do you guys recall the line whenever he says the last time he tried to stop Shy was she was 10 years old? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I couldn't place it, to be honest.
Yeah, not saying that that's not the case. Probably is, but if that is the case, then he would have came there before he kind of got with their mom and stuff. Which they said he came as a beggar, so it could have been he came from across the sea and worked as a farmhand, and eventually they fell in love, and then the mom died. So, yeah, it would still line up with the timeline if she was 10 years old and he was around. Just there'd be another man involved. So, yeah, it's just that's kind of the timeline for everybody for information wise.
Mm-hmm. That's great. It's interesting. I never really thought about it that much, but some people really, really kind of need that sort of basis, yes. Don't they?
I'm one of those people. So
yes, I figured.
Joe's probably like, disgusting. Why do they need a timeline? Characters are good enough. Anyways, back to you, Jeffrey.
All right, so we'll move on to our second chapter read through, which is Furious. Who wants to take this one?
Oh, here we go.
Okay, Georgie, you're up.
So we're back with West and Pike and Cathal and Ladislaw, and they are still moving ever northward, following Bethold's army. Mm-hmm. And they're starting to get a bit desperate. It's snowing, it's getting colder, and West thinks to himself, he can't believe that he looked forward to snow when he was a child, because now it's the worst thing he could possibly think that could happen.
It's hell on earth.
It is hell on earth. Like, I would not want to be trekking through the fucking wilderness while it's snowing, and I don't even have a coat because I gave it to some fucking prick.
Mm-hmm.
And so Three Trees comes up, and he said the Dogman spotted some scouts ahead, some of Bethod's scouts. So we're going to fight. We're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need some tents, we need some supplies, we need food, weapons, whatever. We need it now, so we've got to fight. And I love how Three Trees suggests that Ladislas should come, and he's just like, no, he's not coming. And he just looks at him, and he's like, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, he's like, come on. We both know he only make the risk greater for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. He's so useless. He's got to stay behind with the women.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But I not to give too much credit here, but there is this interesting, like, West goes up to Ladislas and is like, hey, we got to go fight. And before he gets a chance to tell him that you're not fighting, Ladislas is like, all right, if we have to. And he's like, I need a weapon. As much as I despise Ladislas, as much as I enjoy his entertainment, I do, for what is it? A milliliter of respect for him instantly saying, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. And he even argues as well. He's like, I feel like you should be. And he's like, you would be a great, you have to stay behind. He's like, I feel like you would be a great asset, Your Highness. But it's quite out of the question. It's just like, oh, okay. Ladislas did his best to look disappointed.
And Ladislas think,
he can almost taste his relief.
Yeah.
And then he like leaves them with Cathal, and Cathal's already like just talking shit.
Don't worry, I'll make sure he doesn't hurt himself.
Yeah.
So they, Three Trees makes a little plan in the dirt, as he does, and he's like, hey, Black Dow and I almost said it. Black Dow and West are gonna come from across the stream there, across the water, and come up from behind. Me and Tall are going to come in straight to the middle, and then Dogman and Grim are going to shoot from the trees, basically. It's kind of a standard plan. It's ambush them.
And West can't even fucking... He can't even concentrate. He's just like, oh...
I'm cold! Gold!
So he heads off with Black Dow, who's been paired up with. And to get not a very fun time of it, they have to go through this freezing stream, and West is just frozen. Like, he's frozen into his fucking bones. And Dowd looks at him and goes, you look cold, boy.
Which is great, because they're probably close to the same age.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I never think about that. And so Dowd, like, he's slapping him about to kind of, get him hot, get him ready to go. And I love how West tries to fight back, and he's just like flailing against it, like you fucking this, and Dow's just laughing. Yeah, come on, let's go.
He's fucking hyping him up. He's like, yeah, he's good though. I like it. Black Dow clearly has used this on himself. Like, use it. Use your anger, use it. Good, Anakin. Like he's like the Emperor. It's great.
Yeah, and I love the perspective of West's like sort of fight here. Like, he's just literally chop, hack, snarl. Somebody was there, then he weren't. Then he's fighting with somebody, and then he's like just biting somebody's face off.
They get into the battle. And he's so hyped up from Dow slapping him, and he's angry about everything going on, that once they finally get into the fight, fucking, he loses his shit and just starts killing everything he can see.
Yeah. And then it's sort of like he kind of like comes to, and he realizes that he's got a mouthful of blood and like a handful of hair. And it's just like, what the fuck?
And they all stop, and they're all just staring at him. And they're like, huh.
Yeah.
And now you're cracking up.
Yeah, one of Dow's best lines in the whole in the entire fucking series. It's like, you bit him, you bit his fucking nose off. I knew you were a mad bastard.
That's so good. It's good, George. I love the way he also says he kind of Black Dow gives him a name, which is simultaneously, even though it's not his official name and everything, it's so good because it shows that the Northmen respect him for his combat and how he is. And Black Dow goes, Furious. I love it. I love the way he says it in the audiobook.
And that is, they don't even know him that well, but this is him, like, to his fucking core. He is furious. He's constantly fucking angry. He's always got that fucking, the pulse behind his fucking eyes. Yeah, he's got the dog in him. And I really do think that West should have been a Northman.
Well, we've talked about it before a little bit, guys, but it's very possible, not saying that not that Northmen are prone to, they have to be angry and it's in their genetics, but it's very possible, seeing how West is a taller guy and he does seem to be a bit different than a lot of the other Union men. It's possible he's from England, that he has got some Northman ancestry. So we talked about that before, I think, but yeah.
Yeah. So they're, just to go back to the chapter real quick. So they're starting to pick through the campsite, and then Wes is just kind of comes through. He's like, wait, oh shit, the others, we got to check on them. And then Three Trees is like, yeah, go ahead, you and Dow, go check on them.
Furious.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And then he hears a woman scream and he's like, oh shit. So he starts running. He busts through the brush. And then he's like, somebody's trying to rape Cathal, right? And then he kind of looks and it's fucking Ladislaw.
The fucking cunt.
Fucking bastard. And this is what he says here is some of the worst thing I've ever heard. When he's like, sorry, I thought you'd be longer.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the fuck?
and then Cathal's like, I'll kill you. And then Ladislaw, he touches his lip, right? He's like,
she
look,
bit me.
Look. And he's like, he puts out his fingers. And then Wes just starts walking towards him, and then Ladislaw must have not liked what he saw on West's face, because he just was like, hey, wait a minute, now chill out, West, chill out. And then what West does, he just pushes him off the cliff.
Yay!
And then he's like, uh-oh. And then he looks at Cathal, and Cathal's like, oh shit. And then they look over.
I love this line where it's like, no one had ever looked more dead.
And then he's like, uh-oh, I did that. I'm a criminal. I'm a murderer, whatever. And then he feels a hand on his shoulder. And then it's Dow. And he's looking down. He's like, wow.
Well, that's the end of that.
Yep. He's like, you know what, Furious? I'm getting to like you, boy. I'm like, oh, shit. The wacky adventures of Dow and West.
Yeah. So what did you guys rate this chapter?
Oh man. Well, I'm giving this an 8 and a knuckle.
Damn.
Oh yeah, I'm giving it a 9.
You're giving it a 9? Oh man.
I fucking love it. When this happened the first time I read this.
Fuck it. I'm changing my score. I'm joining you, George. I'm joining you.
Yeah. Because the first time I read this, I just had to put the book down and just be like, yes, you finally fucking dead. You fucking piece of shit. And the fact that it's West that does it as well.
It's crazy.
It's just like,
right?
That's it. This is brilliant. I fucking love these books now.
He worked so hard to keep that man alive. And then he was just like, man, you know what? Fuck it. This job ain't worth it.
Yeah. What about you, Harrison?
As a quick note, the fact that West is like, oh god, I gotta protect the prince, even though he hears a woman scream, is what his main concern is, because that's what his focus is.
Yeah.
And the fact that it culminates to this point, and he's like, it's like West has finally learned who he really is in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so perfect for his arc. And it's also unexpected because he has been protected for so long. We've already thought that Ladislaw is going to die multiple times, and he doesn't die. And the fact that West does it is somehow surprising, satisfying, perfectly written. It's pretty brilliant on multiple levels for West's character, for Ladislaw, for their group. The fact that he gets his name from them, he earns their respect. And Black Dow's like, oh, I'm so proud of you. All of it together, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you guys and say, fuck it. A 9 it is, because it is one of the most satisfying, best things ever. So,
wow, look at that. Good job. That was a good one, guys. So now we'll move on to our character spot. And who else could it be but Crown Prince Ladislaw?
He is. Ladislaw does not get an RIP. No RIP for Ladislaw.
I hope you rot on the side of that mountain, you fucking rapist cunt.
You fictional rapist. I hope you die.
Here's the thing. We actually thought about not making Ladislaw a character spot at all because he's a rapist. He might be racist too. Actually, he probably is. He's a racist, rapist cunt. All right. We thought about making it all, but the fact that Joe was able to write a character that is hilarious, absolutely despicable, a troublesome nuisance, but also gets rid of him before we almost lose our minds with him keeping alive through plot armor is awesome. He is, no matter what you say about Ladislaw, say one thing for Ladislaw, say he's fucking ridiculously hilarious.
Because he's just pathetic. He's not, you can think about like a comparable character, like say like Joffrey in Game of Thrones, where, you know, they're evil and they do these things, but Ladislaw is just a spoiled child. He doesn't not understand the concept of no, I can't do this. And nothing's his fault. Nothing is ever his fault, ever. Like, he never has any responsibility. And that's it. That is just, and everybody knows this guy. Or at least somebody like him. I think this is why he's such a universally hated character.
And the thing is, too, is that with Ladislaw being who he is, Ladislaw creates a certain space for other characters to shine. So it shows West's character primarily. But as I like to state over and over again, Giselle's parallel with him is fantastic. And there are other characters. I delved a little bit into spoiler territory here with some other princes, and we compared them to Ladislaw, because Ladislaw is what a prince would be at that time. But when we see other princes, it actually puts everybody else up on a higher level, because we know Joe's world, and we know how terrible people can be, and Ladislaw is the epitome of that. And so when we see people who are better than that, we're like, damn, that's a pretty good person. And I love that.
100%.
I mean, look, Ladislaw is all those terrible things that you guys said, and Reynaud is the better, son to take over the throne. I will just say, he did give us Captain Luthor, you are my man.
Captain Luthor, you're my man.
We will continue to use that catchphrase in an ironic memory of Ladislaw. I will not say good night, my sweet prince. I will say, fuck off.
You'll say, you're my man.
You were never my man.
Ladislaw, you are not our man.
You will not be pushing them back over the border.
Definitely not capital.
Yeah, fucking Wes bursts through the trees and he looks down at them and he's like, I thought you'd be longer. He's like, not capital! Not capital! Ladislaw's like, oh, no, now I understand. Not capital. Rate bad.
Rate bad. Well, thank you for that character spot, fellas. Thank you. We'll move on to our third and final chapter read-through, To the Last Man. Harrison, you want to take this one away?
Sandan Glocta, superior of the Guska. He basically just says here, that, you've done a pretty good job. Everything's pretty much lost. But actually, I need you to come home for no particular reason. Just go ahead. You can come back. You can come back to Adua. You tell everybody else to fight to the last man. Peace out.
Yeah, bye.
And it's interesting that Glocta doesn't. He shows Visbrook and Katia this. The first scene here is Visbrook being like, "Are we going to understand that you're leaving us?" And I can't blame Visbrook for being like, bruh, are you serious? After all this? Yeah, after all this talk about you saying we have to stay and fight, you get away. The person who actually caused all of this, which is the truth. The person who chose bloodshed over everything else. The person who, screwed all of our chances of surrendering. You get away. You get rewarded for this. And he makes a fine point.
Even though Proctor doesn't think that he's being rewarded, he probably thinks he's going to be, body floating by the docks and all that.
Yeah.
But I love this. I love it when Visbrook says, for some reason, the image of rats fleeing a burning house springs to mind. And he's like, yeah, if the rats are fleeing the flames to fling themselves into a mincing machine.
Oh, those metaphors that he comes up with on the fly are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
So, I Katia is basically like, okay, figures.
Yeah.
Basically, with this being said and everything, Koska's staying too. He's not going. It's just Glokta and his practical Severod and Frost. And so because of that, they're talking about what's going on. And he's like, you should surrender. Talking to Visbrook. He's like, you should surrender. That's probably the best course of action. And Visbrook's like, no, you ruined our chances of that. Like, you killed the ambassador. There is no surrendering. So whatever. Peace out.
Oh no, he says to Visbrook that you should fight to the last man and don't get taken alive. Just excellent advice. And then he says to Cardia, straight away the second Visbrook leaves the room, he's like, no, you've got to give up the city.
Yeah,
and he doesn't even bother with Koska because he knows Koska's going to betray them anyway.
That's funny. But Hadish Kadia, which we already made him a character spot, but he does say, I want to thank you. And I love this too because Glokta's like, oh, I didn't expect this kind of response. Hadish Kadia's like, for the freedoms that you gave us, and even though I know it's just to fulfill your own, to fulfill the quota of defending the city and blah blah blah, still, I thank you for the work that you did. And Glokta's like, oh.
Yeah, right in his tiny black heart.
Yes. So yeah, like he hits him in his little black heart. And then it kind of transitions to Glokta sitting on his bed, and he's like, man, he's thinking about all the happy memories he has of Koska.
Over there, that's where I was nearly eaten by a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, right here is whenever I got paid 1 million marks with absolutely no strings attached.
Yeah. And he's still got 500,000 of those marks left.
In polished stones, which, might I say, is a very smart move. Use the coinage, keep the little satchel. Genius. And he's sitting there thinking about all this, and then somebody's like, going without saying goodbye. Fucking Vitari. And the door, and Glokta is like, oh shit! He fucking jumps on his suitcase, basically, hurts his leg, and is like, trying to act all casual. It's like a scene from a cartoon. He's like, what? Me?
Yeah.
And she's like, I thought we had a deal. And he's like, so did I, until, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to be fucking murdered. So whatever, why does it matter? And Vitari gets all up in his business, starts trying to like choke him out, and is like got her chain around him, and he's all like, how long has it been since a woman was on top of me? After a moment of initial pain, he's like, go ahead, do it, I'm dead anyways.
Yeah,
or as the young kids say it, no balls.
Pretty much.
No balls.
No balls.
But
I love how she is literally just about to kill him, and then just starts crying. Oh wait, no, that's a different bit, isn't it?
No,
no,
you're right.
She
She backs off. She takes off her mask, and he sees like tears. He sees that she looks like a fairly young woman who is sad and soft, and
uh-oh.
Galacta is very weak to soft young women.
He is.
As he
And then he's
admits
just
right
like,
here.
Please, I'm begging you.
And he's like, fine.
And then, like, the second he turns around, like, the mask's back on and the teeth are gone, and it's like, okay, see ya.
This is where I think that Vitari, like people might think that Vitari is, it's like using her. She's being a weak woman, and it's like uses a plot device. But really, I'm pretty sure Vitari, while being genuinely wanting to go back, she just switched her tactics. She just was like, okay, clearly she's seen him be soft on women, so she takes off her mask, starts fucking crying. Maybe the tears are real, maybe they're not, and is like, please help me. And he's like, okay. And she's like, okay, sweet. See you later.
Yeah. It is definitely a manipulative thing. Like, we know that she isn't. Like, she's a hard ass.
She is desperate. I would say she is desperate, which is why she switches tactics from physical threatening to emotional manipulation. But still, it's good. I like it.
It says a lot that she went for violence first and the emotional and manipulation second.
She's like, all right, I can't punch my way out of every problem.
Yeah.
It also deepens her character a bit more too. She's not just a practical, as we've already seen. She works for Salt, and she also she's quite formidable, even more so than we thought she was originally.
I do love the bit when Galacta's like, you'll have to do a sight better than that, you ginger whore.
I do love that.
You can tell he's just been waiting to say that for ages.
Yeah.
Ginger whore.
So, she has to pack light, right?
You can carry your own damn luggage. But yeah, so the packing light, and in the next scene we are heading back out to sea again, and Dagoska is lost.
Dagoska's lost
after all of that effort, all of those deaths, all of those people died, and Galacta's just leaving. There is no justice.
There is nada.
And there is a good thing here too. Like, Galacta genuinely believes he's going back to face punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well,
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And is that reasonable, or is this just Galacta being a massive pessimist?
It's reasonable. Have you not met the Archlector?
That is a good point.
Yeah,
but then I feel like, yeah. I am the Archlector, bitch.
No, that Archlector.
What would you do? What would you do, George, if someone failed you?
Well, I just have him killed that, then just forget about it.
Yeah, which is exactly where Galacta's it highlights in a very little way that Galacta's pessimism and pessimism overall is not always a clear point of view. You can be too pessimistic.
Yeah. So, how would you guys rate that one?
I'd give it a 6 out of 9. Not, it's okay. All right, we know Galacta. He's out. He did his best, but obviously not. His best wasn't good enough, and he's gonna go. What's the word? You pay the piper. What's that phrase? You pay the piper.
Yeah, you pay the piper.
Yeah. So
you get your just desserts.
Get his just desserts. So that's about it. I mean, poor Hadish Kadia and Visbrook.
Yeah. Ooh. And there are some good characters, and it's interesting that I find Joe's pacing a bit strange here. Like, this conclusion to this story is halfway through Act 2. And it's like, oh, okay. That's a bit of an odd point for this to end, but oh well. And then it's interesting to see what will be in store for Galacta going forward. So I'm gonna give this one a 5 as well.
Go ahead.
I keep doing that on purpose, so I keep interrupting you, Harrison.
It's okay. It's just because you'll pause for dramatic effect, and then I'm like, waiting a second, and then right as I go to speak, you're like, what? And I'm like, oh shit. My bad. Sorry, George.
That's no worries.
You said what? Were you gonna rate it?
Say that
George,
again.
what are you
Oh,
gonna
you
rate
want to
it?
say that again? Oh, yeah, sorry. I'll give that a 5.
Okay. I'm gonna rate it a 3, actually, because I'm kind of more on the same lines as Jeffrey. Like, yeah, it's good character work, of course, as always. But the only real change here is, did we really suspect that he was gonna leave Atari? I never, even the first read through, it wasn't like a surprise. I was just more surprised at how she got him to do it.
Mhm.
So, I like that part, and I like how Hadashikari is thankful despite everything. It's like a kind of a sweet moment there, and I like that Visbrook is very, I would guess to say honorable about it by the end. But overall, I think it's one of the weaker chapters. They have to have it, obviously, to show that he's got to come back he's got to sell back to Adjua, but it's a pretty mellow chapter, I feel like, overall. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
a good
fair
point.
enough.
That's good. That's good. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. This is a passion project for the 3 of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
join us next time as we cover Jewel of Cities and Luck.
And remember to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we do a lot of stuff on Reddit. And we also have a website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use to listen to podcasts on. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast, as it helps to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
You bit him. You bit his fucking nose off.